local voices who are so important that we lose this, and how important it is to preserve, which is why it's so important to support KBOO. I mean, that is a place where you hear those voices. Are you tired of these small circle of pundits you get on all of the networks who know so little about so much, explaining the world to us and getting it so wrong? I mean, that's why KBOO is invaluable. And yet, media consolidation is a tremendous threat to a democratic society. Newspapers, journalism is under siege. There is a reason why our profession, journalism, is the only one explicitly protected by the U.S. Constitution, because we're supposed to be the check and balance on power. Which brings me to the Republican convention and the attack on it there, because this all fits in with this story. The Republican convention, as you know, Democracy Now! Expanded to 2 hours for the Democrat and the Republican conventions, breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency, from the streets to the suites of the convention floor. We flew into St. Paul from Denver, the Democratic convention. Bumped into Jon Stewart in baggage claim, so we're interviewing him. I get a text in my phone, a house is being raided in St. Paul. It's a preemptive raid. A preemptive raid. It's eyewitness video. We know them well from New York. They're the ones who gathered the videotape for the police actions on the protesters in 2004, the Republican convention with George Bush. It was 1,800 people, more than 1,800 people were arrested. 1,800, and put in these toxic piers on the Hudson River, held for days, often without charge. And when hundreds of people would go to court, right, these cases were being thrown out one after another. So it was just a squelching of protest. And what was most powerful was the videotape. Often eyewitness video gathered the video, either took it themselves or gathered other people's video. They'd bring them to court, and it would exonerate people. They're acquitted, acquitted, acquitted. What would really anger the judges is when the police would present the videotape, and then eyewitness video would show the unedited videotape. We're paying millions of dollars for these false arrests, for these illegal arrests, that took place in New York. So the New York police consults with the Denver and the St. Paul police, and the St. Paul police knows who eyewitness video is. So they raided the house. They had just arrived, ready to watch what was going to happen for the Republican convention. And they detain all the people inside. They're tossing their stuff. Elizabeth Press, our producer we were working with for this convention, had the camera above her head. She was afraid they would mistake it for a gun. They had AR-15 automatic weapons. I mean, it was scary. I'm talking about the police, the authorities. And they're taken out to the backyard. This family next door, all of us, the press, are being held across the street. A family next door, African-American family, the woman comes out and says, "You can't believe what I'm looking at in the backyard. You come through my house and you look in my backyard. What's happening to my neighbors?" So we all run through the house. It's her private property. The police can't stop us from doing that. And we're looking, we're shining the spotlight, the cameras, the microphones on all these guys who are detained and handcuffed in the backyard, including the homeowner of the house next door. The police didn't even have the warrant to search this. They had the wrong address, but they went through anyway. And I knew the police respect private property. So I asked who the property owner was, and he was in handcuffs. And I said, "Could I come interview?" He said, "Yes." So I jumped the fence with our cameraman, and they're saying, "You get out of here." The police, they're pushing me back with having my cameraman, and he's saying, they're telling him to leave. He said, "I can't, she'll fire me." He says, you understand, I'm only following orders," he said. So anyway, once the media's there, then the police backed off, and they had to release these people. It shows what happens with the power, and I appreciate the cameras that are here, and it's so important to have independent media. Then the convention, this was before the convention. This was Saturday before Labor Day. Monday is the day of the Republican convention beginning. It's a preemptive raid, like Tom Cruise's Minority Report, that movie, and I don't usually recommend Tom Cruise movies, but this one was prophetic, right? He's being interviewed, he's being arrested for pre-crimes. So the Monday comes, beautiful blue sky day. In the morning, a mass protest against war led by Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, soldiers, some in full uniform, who are marching from the St. Paul City Hall to the Excel Center where the convention is taking place, and we're covering it all. 10,000 people march. And then I run to the convention center to interview delegates from the hottest state, Alaska. And my colleagues at Democracy Now! Go to St. Paul Neighborhood Network. We broadcast from public access there. First time they were going global. Really exciting to have this collaboration with community radio and television all over the country. And I think they're inside digitizing tape. But I get a call as I'm interviewing delegates from Mike Burke, our senior producer. He says, come quickly. Nicole and Sharif have just been arrested, and I think they've been hurt. They've been bloodied. What? But I thought they were at the office. So I raced out with Rick Rowley of Big Noise Films, really brave journalist, spends much of his time in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we raced down the streets of St. Paul to 7th and Jackson, where Mike said they were being arrested. A riot police line has the area inside fully contained. Sharif Abdel-Quddus, our senior producer, Nicole Salazar, producer. I run up to the police line. You know, I've got my credentials that allow me to interview presidents, vice presidents, delegates, everything. And they see that, and I say who I am, and I say, you can see I'm credentialed. 2 of our producers are inside. They're also fully credentialed, Sharif Abdel-Quddus, Nicole Salazar. We need to have them released right away. Can I speak to your commanding officer? They immediately rip me through the line, twist my arms back, slap the rigid handcuffs on me, the plastic handcuffs, throw me up against the wall, and then down on the ground. I mean, within seconds. I say, what are you doing? You know I'm a journalist. I'm looking desperately now, because I'm inside the line, for Sharif and Nicole, because I hear they've been hurt. I can't see Nicole anywhere, but I see Sharif across the parking lot. I demand to be brought to him. Finally, I'm brought to him. We're both standing there. He's got his credentials around his neck. His arm is bloody. He is also handcuffed behind his back. And I keep on saying, you can see we're credentialed journalists. This is unacceptable. Release us now. We're from the Secret Service. Come and rip the credentials from around our necks. Finally, I'm charged with, misdemeanor obstruction of a peace officer, if only there was a peace officer there, and brought into the police wagon. Nicole is there. She describes what happened. They had come down. They saw the protest, another protest that was taking place there. She was filming. The police were moving on her very fast. She was saying, press, press. She's videoing, not planning to, but videoing her own violent arrest. They take her down. They're saying, face on the ground. They've got their knee or boot in her back. They're on top of her. They're inexplicably pulling on her legs, so her face is being dragged along the ground, and it's bloody. What's the first thing they do? They pull the battery out of her camera, if you want to know what they wanted to do. Sharif is right next to her holding the mic. He is telling them to calm down. They throw him up against the wall, kick him twice in the chest and the back, take him down, and he is arrested. So they are facing PC felony riot, probable cause felony riot. I'm charged with misdemeanor. I'm taken off to the protest cages in the police garage, where they fully processed me. What we didn't know they're taking to jail is the level of response, because someone put the video of us on YouTube being arrested, 40-second video, most watched YouTube video for 2 days. It went viral. The response is so tremendous, we are taken out of jail later that night. More than 40 journalists were arrested that week. Sharif was in jail with the AP photographer. They didn't take him out, but they took Sharif out. It shows the response when there is grassroots support. That night, I'm taken to the convention center to talk about what had happened. I'm in the NBC skybox. An NBC stand-up guy next to me is listening to my story when the camera's closed. I said, I don't understand. How come this didn't happen to me? He said. I said, oh, were you out covering the protests? And he said, no. So I said, well, like Woody Allen says, 90% of life is just showing up. You know, I'm not being arrested in the skybox either. But, and it is our job, is to go into the corporate suites, who's paying for all of this. I had many doors closed in my face. It's to be on the convention floor, get the orchestrated message there, and to be in the streets. And when we're arrested, I mean, it is unacceptable to get a record for just putting things on the record. When we are arrested, it is not just a violation of our freedom of the press. It's a violation of your right to know. Because democracy is a messy thing. The messages are coming from everywhere, and it's our job to capture it all. It is unacceptable what took place. Hundreds of protesters were arrested, nonviolent protesters, but it's absolutely critical that we protect freedom of the press in this country.
I was pretty sure, Amy, this would be the quickest hour in my life, and it certainly has been. I want to conclude with the conclusion in your book, which says, we are the leaders we have been waiting for. And for the people who don't have the book yet, they are available outside, and as soon as we leave here, Amy will sign them for the next half hour before she zooms out to the airport. But we want to really, really appreciate your bravery, your courage, your vision, and your desire to make sure that we are connected to the world we live in. Thank you so much, Ms. Amy.